G'day everybody, welcome to our live talk today at, what time are we now? 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, I thought we'd do a daytime one today to catch anyone who is about in the daytime, and we might also catch some different size on different times over the world. Okay everybody, we've got a couple of questions come through, not a lot of questions today, but some good questions. And the first one, I'll just wait a little bit if anyone wants to come on live. Otherwise, as everyone knows, you can just watch it when it goes. It stays on Facebook, and also we put it on our membership. So, okay. First of all, Janine Hicks. Hi, sometimes when I ride cornetto up an embankment, she gets to the top and gives me a buck. This weekend I came off because she decided to give me 4. That's not good. It is when we follow someone else up and she gets excited. I'm worried now this will become a habit. What should I do? Thanks, Janine, for the question. I see that quite often where horses rush up a hill, and also the other thing is you've got to think about when they rush up a hill, some horses are fairly sensitive, so when they're going up a hill, there's a lot more pressure at different parts of their body. And before I answer any questions like that, I have to sort of say that you have to check sorenesses out and things like that, saddle fit, all those sort of things when it comes to. So say for instance, if she wasn't excited and it was a common thing when she's going down steep hills or up steep hills that she got a bit uncomfortable after it, then I would look into other areas as well first. But in saying that though, it's in your question it says when she's excited, so I'm going to answer the question as an educational question opposed to a soreness thing, but that's something I will, soreness is always something I would look into, definitely with certain little traits in horses like that. She's probably not bucking up the hill because it's a bit hard to buck up the hill, but when she gets to the top, that's when she levels out a bit and feels a little bit freer. So there's a lot of inertia, and then she gets to the top, you're back in balance again, and she feels excited. She's having a bit of a buck at the top. Now, first of all, there is a bit of trail etiquette. It's not good when other people take off through gullies. All the years I've been riding horses, and also I did a lot of trekking of horses, and when you go on rides where there's a lot of horses and everyone takes off in front of you, your horse ends up going down the gully and up the gully at a quite a dangerous speed. And so first thing is if she's got in a little habit of it and you're riding with people, it's good to kind of get them to slow their horses down at the bottom of the gully and just get them to walk up the gully carefully, and you just walk up in increments, just to the top. So that's one thing to help start, so you can kind of start to get her to go carefully up the hill. Now, the biggest problem by the sounds of it is she's starting to tune into the dynamics of the other horses and get her sort of confidence, or not so much confidence. She's starting to kind of keep going with them, and she's disconnected with you. So on trail rides, it's very important to sort of set the horses up so they're a little bit more connected, because a lot of horses when they're out, in the question there it says when she follows someone, so she's just zoning into the other horse and kind of rushing. The other thing you got to think about is horses rush up, they tend to want to go up, they start to push to get up the hill, and carrying the weight of us, they tend to, a lot of horses, even without a horse in front of them, are going to start to push faster to get up to the top of the hill. So when they're getting pulled up by the desire of another horse, they're going to even go up faster again. So very, very important that you get your horse more connected on the rides, and educate her to walk carefully up the hills, and teach her to walk up hills. So to get her connected on the rides, what you can think about doing is a little bit more, taking her up behind the horses out in front, just bring her back through, let her loosen up a little bit. If she kind of rushes up to the other horses, you might just let her go, ask her to walk up to the other horses that she's wanting to pull up to. This is not up the hills, this is more so just on trail in general. Ride her past the other horses, ride her around a little bit, some backups, bring her back around, and just let her feed in with the other horses a little bit. And it's not like you're going out there punishing her. It's just that you take her up where she's comfortable, and then you kind of connect with her a little, you know. So every time you back her up, every time you steer her, you've got to be looking that she's kind of coming back with you. If your education is holding her up or making it worse, then maybe you're holding her back too far from the other horses. So that's why you've got to kind of do it around where she feels safe. And I would also suggest starting, you know, riding her a little bit more connected when she's on her own and things like that. But on a trail ride, it's so common for people to just, you know, talk to their friends and zone out, and the horse zones out. And then when the horses all take off, the horse has been getting its confidence off the rest of the horses the whole time anyway. So very important that you just do more with her, interact with her, keep her a little not distracted off the other horses, but more connected to you. And that will be through distraction first, and then letting her kind of feel good and connect with you. So when you get to the hill or a gully or something like that, very important you teach her to walk up gully. So you stop at the bottom, you walk up a little bit, and you know, you have to go a little bit, stop, go a little bit more, stop. And it will be a little hard on her if she's got to stop and then start again up the hill. It's very important that she learns to sort of stay with you and go steady up to the top of the hill. So it's not like she just gets to the top and suddenly got all this extra excitement or energy that sort of causes her to buck. You know, if you get to the top of the hill and you feel she's got a little bit of a, you know, feels like she's got a bit of a buck in her, just once you get onto the brow of that hill, I would be starting to, you know, take a tight turn on her so you can curb a thought from bucking. So if you feel like you've sort of done everything else and then she's still got a little bit in her and she gets to the top, then once you get up to the top there, just very quickly anticipate that may happen and just take a 90-degree turn on her or something like that, or even just do a U-turn and like a turn around and just walk her out. And I wouldn't be holding her back. But very important, if you know she's got into a habit of it, is try and talk to the people on trail too to get you to help you out a little and come back and tell them to slow down a little bit and maybe let you go ahead up the hill. I know that's not always possible, but yeah, with a bit more education, I think, and more connection on rides with groups, I think she'll get a lot better. And you know, do a lot of stop, let's walk off again when you ride her out on trail, because even a horse on its own will just sort of go right around and come all the way back and never get stopped. And even when they do stop, they start to paw the ground and want to keep moving and things like that. So, you know, every trail ride, you might ride 10 or 15 metres and maybe back them off a little, let them stand a little and start to educate her to stay more with you the whole time. And then once you've done a bit of that, then when you get her out on the big trail rides, she can sort of understand that she can come back with you and it's okay. So yeah, I hope that, you know, I hope that helps. It's, you know, it's hard there's so many exercises you can do, but as long as your horse is soft in the reins and connecting left and right and back up and things like that. And if you pick up an indirect range, you can just yield the hips across. There's another way to take a little bit of power out of the hind end, but I wouldn't do hindquarter yields by kicking her across to sort of, you know, just take that hindquarter out a little. I tend to just teach her to you know, when you take that rein up into your torso, she can just yield those hips across, and that sometimes when you feel her go to buck, you can just yield the hips across a little, send her off in a new direction. But most importantly, you've got to have the thoughts with her. That's the only reason she's doing it. She's elsewhere and the feet are trying to catch up and she kind of gets excited at the top. So thanks very much to me. Next question, we've got Jackie. So you're not going to watch it. I met Jackie's Brumby. You met my Brumby at the Collie Clinic there out at the Collie Clinic. So that's it, over Western Australia. I got a little bit confused there. The Collie Clinic Junior, which by the way was awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed the clinic. I really enjoyed going over there too. It was a good keen group. So we discovered he always wanted 2 eyes on. Well, now he sidles up to the fence for me to scratch his tummy and bottom, but he's still really head high when mounting. You were surprised at how well he rode. Any suggestions on exercises to do, please? So yeah, so these high-headed horses, very common in the sort of more wild and nervous ones, that when you come up beside them and things like that, they they get their head up and they kind of get nervous. So all the stuff you've been doing, getting here, you know, your horse to walk past you, come up to a fence, all those things are really important. The biggest sort of thing that I do a lot of, which is going to help that, is getting them to move beside me. So like a lot of horses are kind of nervous and they hold their head up and they're ready to move away. But if you get them to move beside you until they relax, then basically by the time they've stood, they're already moving beside you and nice and calm. So think of it as, you know, so the first thing, you know, is I guess years ago I had a really tough horse that was kind of 2-eye on horse, and it was probably the toughest 2-eye on horse I'd had for a long time. And it got me to thinking more about what I was doing, and you know, so basically the reason, you know, that some of my ideas of training get horses to just walk past me and look at me softly on one eye and the other eye is because basically that was the only thing I could get this horse to get out and move about me softly, was just teach it to walk with, you know, 2 eyes on, half, you know, then eventually 1 eye on, and then till a horse can walk past me, because any other way of trying to push it or drive it off just made it sort of pin 2 eyes on harder and harder because of the nervous energy in it. So with your Brumby, just do more of the exercise where you hold your arm out, just get it to walk with 1 eye on until basically you get the horse past you and you see it loosen up and relax. I mean, relax in your hand, it'll kind of bring its head down a little and walk beside you on one hand. And if you did that with the other hand and the other eye, the horse can do that. And then you could kind of send the horse out past you, and you could just come in and rub down its shoulder and put your hand on the saddle while that horse is still walking beside you. So that's really important. And if you had a flag, you can flag it all over, walk it around, and then basically you just walk it and walk beside it on both eyes till it loosens up and softens. And then you might stop, walk on, stop, walk on while you're standing beside the horse. And then the last little bit would be starting to step up again on it. So the other thing you can do is stand on a mounting block, get the horse to walk around the mounting block till it just spirals in until it's walking real close, that you can kind of, you know, pretty well lean on it and it walks around you. Because it's probably just standing frozen like that. So as soon as you loosen up and get it to walk forward, it mightn't do it straight away, but it'll help relax your horse. So yeah, walking beside you close, walking past you close, both eyes, until you can sort of walk beside your horse, step up. And then the next thing I do is like to train a young horse. You might have seen me in the fern videos. If you check out the fern videos, you'll see me kind of getting up, stepping around a little bit, stepping off. So you just get a step up and get that little Brumby to move its feet a little, it'll get a bit tight like this, and then you step off again and you keep doing that one, and then that little Brumby. And you actually, now that I think about it, remember the exercises at the clinic, just getting your little Brumby to walk beside was a difficult exercise, and walk out in front. So I just say it needs more of those exercises instead of sort of standing at the rail exercises. And yeah, just get to a stage that you can kind of step up in the stirrup and ask it to walk a little and then step off, and then it'll go, oh, that's all that happened. And then once that happens, yeah, you'll find it start to come down a little more in the mounting department. Yeah, thanks very much, Jackie. I'm glad the little Brumby's getting better. It was a nice little Brumby. I liked, really, yeah, beautiful little horse actually. I really liked the way it rode because it was such a tuned in horse, tuned into its environment and tuned into you. And if I get a bit of time, I just saw you got a little question there, Joe, or I just got to get it up so I can see it, because there are only a couple of questions here today. So, g'day, Joe. I guess you're not on shift tonight, today, which is good. Not sure how many questions you have, but I tried to get Chuka up to the mounting block yesterday. He has been a bit weird with it lately. Anyhow, after he refused multiple times, and time was limited, so I went to mount from the ground, and I'll just press the see more bit, and was about to put my leg over, and he shot away from me, and I came down and hurt my ankle, thankfully not too bad. When I couldn't mount him, it is like he's completely freaked out, so much so, thinking I won't even try until I get to your place. I rode him last weekend and he was fine. Gee, I'm not sure, Joe. Well, sorry. I can sort of give you ideas to help there, but I'm actually not sure what freaked him out then. You know, I have had horses have a bad fright, where suddenly everything gets along. Like I've had horses that I've come off, they've spooked out and I've come off or something like that, and then getting on and off becomes. I actually one mare once I got off her and I banged a saddlebag, and it just freaked her. It just got her out of the blue when she was a little bit half asleep when I was getting off her. And do you think I could get off her for the next 2 weeks without having to go through a sort of whole paraphernalia of things? So remember back to your last ride, as in on him, and just think if anything happened that could have caused the spook, and then you know, because it's just odd that Chuka started to get wary. Now I'm just going down. It looks like you got freaking out even with me walking to his near side, trying to block me, then moving away. Finished up just getting him okay with that and getting a bit of weight in the stirrup. But he's a long way off. Okay with it. That's interesting. I mean, Tuka had that side of being nervous and that accident that happened when he was on the clinic. But you've obviously probably ridden him since that accident at the clinic, and now those things can freak horses out a little. But you would have noticed that earlier when you rode him, Joe, if it was way, you know, from that buster at that clinic last time I was down that way. So yeah, basically you're just going to have to sort of first of all get him to do like the lesson, the answer that I just gave Jackie with her little brumbies. Go back to just getting him to loosen up and come around past you on both eyes, and he's going to block you a little, but you just sort of firm up on the lead a little and say, just step out a little and then loosen. Don't ask him past until he's kind of loosened up and stops blocking you. Once he stops blocking you, then you can ask him past a little further on the tough eye. The other thing I'd actually start to do is he probably needs to experience a little more pressure, as in whether you're using a flag or something like that. You might have to go back to some lessons where you kind of put that flag up in the air and shake it a little, and he's going to kind of go whoa, and then you can firm up on that lead. And I mean, don't send him off over a fence, but when he gets a little nervous and then he loosens up and comes forward, and you just stop the flag for a second and get him to sort of deal with a little bit of bother, because if he's had a fright or something's happened that's caused a little memory, which I'm not sure, then you've got to kind of get him to sort of, and a lot of horses, if they've kind of spooked and ran away from something, and it could have been something happening, who knows, something happened in the paddock, who knows, you know, some things just come out in a horse, and maybe it was happening for a little while and something was kind of bothering him, and there could have been an extra nail in the coffin that did it, whether it be the work on the mounting block. I'm not sure, because you know, if I had a crystal ball or I was the fly on your shoulder the whole time, then I could be a bit more direct in my answer. But I would actually get to add in some stimulant and pressure, getting him to loosen up and then step forward, stop the pressure. So worry him enough to kind of start searching and going, oh crikey, I'm getting up close to the red zone. I'm a bit worried. How do I, you know, what should I do? And then somehow you can put a little feel and get him to step back up towards you a little. It can be still a bit of distance, and get him to sort of deal with his anxiety a little better, until you can sort of start to, you know, maybe stand on the mounting block and wave the flag a little, and he's going to back off a little, and then he'll step up a little, and then and you can get to a stage that you can actually walk him around the mounting block and actually cause a bit more, you know, rattly stuff to happen, and he'll go, oh, I might just sidle in and get comfortable with Joe, and then you'll kind of loosen up with him and say, there it is. So it's almost like when people used to desensitize horses and they went pressure and then the horse stopped and they released, but this is not the same. This is only getting him searching and then adding an idea, whether he walk past me or come towards me with the feel, and when he kind of loosens up to that feel, finds the pathway and walks towards the pathway, or then you loosen up the pressure a bit. So he actually, the flag or the worry makes and heightens their anxiety, which heightens their awareness, and then their awareness makes them search, and then you offer the pathway of feel in the direction that will help them the most, which is obviously a direction that's going to help you as well, which firstly will be come to me or go around me on the mounting block. So, you know, when you get to a stage on the mounting block, he might be 2 meters away on a long rope. You can wave that flag, keep him walking around you, he'll get a little tight, and then you ask him towards and through a little bit so he comes a little closer. When he comes closer, you stop the flag a little until he, you know, you wave that flag, get him all bothered, and he comes close into the mounting block, knowing that that's the best place for him to be, is coming into that mounting block. And you finish the lesson in the stage that he doesn't actually, it's not like he gets scared away from the mounting block. He actually is happy to be with you, but then you complete it until the stage you can wave the flag a little bit, and he's not kind of going, oh crikey, I've got to run into her. You don't want him finishing on that note, because that's still going to cause problem. He just gets a little more used to the flag too, and can cope with it. So yeah, walking past you on both eyes, again, all that sort of stuff, rubbing him all over, just, you know, almost like one reining, but you can walk all the way past his hip and handle him all over and things like that. And then back to working from the mounting block. So I hope that helps, Joe. But good luck. If you want to contact me anytime or something, and just give me a sort of a rundown. I can't remember which clinic you're on because I don't look at the clinic list, but no, it'd be good to sort of have a look and help. And yeah, thanks, Joe. I'll just check down. I've learned now that I've got to keep scrolling down on the side, otherwise I miss some questions. Well, there you go. I missed that bit, Joe, but that's probably what happened. Joe had an accident with a young girl here when a young girl here went to mount him off the veranda, and he got the fright and took off, being weird since, extreme nerves. Yeah, I figured, Joe, I've never met a horse that suddenly just gets frightened out of the blue with some reason. Unfortunately, a fright like that's put him back a fair way, especially because he kind of bolted off and ran off and went straight to his flight mode, almost like, so he kind of thinks, you know, in a random spot near the veranda where he's probably nervous, she got on him, his senses are up, she wasn't probably paying attention to things, he took off, got a big fright. And now that's the way he deals with it. I'm frightened of being mounted, because last time I felt like I was getting eaten alive or something like that, because he got a big shock and ran off. So yeah, you just have to go back to, you know, training that's safe to mount. All the stuff I said is stuff that I do. So yeah, because I did have someone come off a horse once, and man, that horse went backwards a long way. The horse was in a bit of a funny mood, and then they loped this horse around and sort of got it come back high and trot around with it, everything. But she was probably riding nice and upright, like a good rider does, you know, nice and balanced and everything like that. And then when she came down, the horse just kind of rested, and she sort of stopped with it, and she just went, and she did one of those pats on the neck, you know, the ones that I don't encourage people to do, well, the ones you do if you want to get a horse a bit desensitized to being bumped. But and she went bang, 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 bang on its neck to sort of pat it, and the horse just went like it just flew out from underneath her, and she hit the deck. And you know, then after that, you couldn't even kind of, you know, just do a little bit with your hand like that, because it would just go really wound and frightened, and she'd come off. And so it can send him back a long way, especially Chuka's got that side to him that keeps him a little nervous. You know, he's got he's a quiet horse, but he's an aware horse, and that time he got caught unaware, so now he's not going to be caught unaware again. He's really aware that, you know. Yeah, anyway, we'll work on that when you come up here, and hopefully we can get him back in the green zone again. Megan, quick question. The best way of managing separation anxiety with the horses left behind in the paddock, not so much the horse you are riding. I take Milo out, and the ones left behind run around and call out. The ones, which means you got two. Unfortunately, some herds, the herd dynamics, when you take one away, even though you've got three horses, I've seen a herd go berserk for 2 days here, just, you know, sorting out adjustment horses, and I just wanted to take one of our mares out of the paddock just so I could put it in a different paddock, because I wanted to gently, you know, and 2 of the horses, not the 4, the 4 ran around for 10 minutes, but 2 were bothered by that for a long time. So what can you do? It's a difficult one because some people say, if you're going to own a horse and you're going to go riding on its own and you've got a companion horse, you almost got to have 2, because then, but as you've just said, the others get stressed. Now they will get stressed, and there's not a lot you can do, but maybe give them some hay, distract them, something like that. Maybe if you were taught, you could sort of, if you were to sort of make, if it was a really problem and they're going to, hurt themselves, they'll stress for a little while and they'll probably settle down. But sometimes their stress makes it hard on the horse you're riding, because sometimes you've got a fairly good connection with your horse, but you want to work on things, and your horse is out of its element. And most cases you'd probably be okay, but it's when that horse starts really calling out that you suddenly lose it on your own horse. So sometimes having those horses calling out make it a little more difficult. So try just giving them a biscuit of hay that lasts the amount of the ride. And I know it costs money, but it could be just to kind of settle them and show them that, don't have to worry about them, I'll eat my hay or something like that while they go on a ride. And it might just be enough to curve them, and then after a bit you might need to feed them so much. You might only need to feed them just a little bit to get them thinking about something else until your horse goes over the hill. Sometimes it's when they can still see him riding around and out that they bother, and then when you're off, they start to settle down. Now, if that's not the case, the other thing you could also integrate into it, try a few things, but you integrate this into it, is you could still try the hay thing and only ride for a little bit and ride around near their paddock and then away from their paddock and come back and then just put your horse away. And almost like you're teaching, it's the same principle as teaching the horse to deal with separation anxiety on trail rides. You're just going to leave and come back, and they go, oh, I didn't go far, and I came back. And then after a while, the rides get longer and further, and your horses in the paddock kind of get used to that routine and they settle into it. And I think once they're used to that routine, they might settle into it. You might have to have a weaning process for them to say, I'm not going to go forever, because Milo might be the favourite one and they don't want him to leave. But yeah, so the food, a bit of a weaning process in the sense of ride close and away and come back sooner and increase every day. Yeah, that's probably all I'd be trying to do. Otherwise, if they're not, some of them can stress and end up in lather or sweat, and it's a real bother. And if it's bothering your horse, then you've got to fix it, because it's difficult on you and them. So yeah, all right, mate, you can try that and see, and I'll be in Canberra soon. So if you're about, I don't know if you're doing the clinic in Canberra, but because I don't actually look at the list, but if you're about down there, we'll have a yarn about it. Even if you come and have a little look, I'll try and sort of share some more thoughts on it. All right, Megan, thanks for that question. And I'll just go scroll down a little bit more, see if there's any more. Thanks, Joe. Need a bigger biscuit? Yeah, well, I think if you've tried the hay, Megan, try the idea of a bigger biscuit to start, and then ride out, come back, and then lengthen the rides and take the hay away slowly. That's if someone gives me another idea, I'll try and sort of let you know. But I don't deal with it too much, because I take one horse out and they're not too bad. They seem to be okay. All the years I was breaking in training horses, I'd have them in a group of about 4 or 5, because I'd only break them 5 to 6 in at a time. And I'd put them all up in the yards. I'd be taking one out at a time all the time, and all the others wouldn't bother. It was kind of big enough to sort of deal with that, and they all came in new anyway. But yeah, I know those sort of small herds with 3 or 4 can be a little bit intricate. And yeah, thanks everyone for logging on today, and thanks for the questions. And yeah, another 2 weeks we'll put up another, or I'll do another live talk, and Jenny will put it up a couple of days before. So if there's any questions, even some of these questions, regarding what I've just talked about, if you want to kind of work on it and come back to me if there's still issues, that'd be good. But yeah, thanks everyone, and I'll talk to you next time.